Hi everyone, welcome at Wavect. Today with Diego Borgo, a truly special guest because he is well known in the Web3 space. And just to give you a couple of examples what he's actually doing. He's advisor at MET AMS Nemus. He's a well-known Metaverse native, Web3 ambassador, NFT collector, and advisor to several global brands. And today we're gonna talk about the Web3 things different. And really thank you for taking the time, Diego. It's a pleasure having you here. And related to that, I would love to hear your insights, what you are actually passionate about. And yeah, if you want so, would love to hear your own introduction about yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kevin. Real pleasure to be here. Yeah, just talking to your audience, tapping into the community, and that's kind of like one of the things I love doing the most, just sharing my experience, sharing my thoughts, sharing the way I'm thinking and things I'm doing, and hoping that people can find value on that on the way.
Awesome. And what are you actually doing on a regular basis? Because you're quite a busy man, right? I think the audience might be curious what you are actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis, if you are allowed to tell us.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of things I do, which is exciting because this space allows us to play so many different roles, and that's exactly the type of thing I like. People usually tend to ask me, "How does a day is looking like for you? How things are in your schedule?" And it's quite shocking for some that I don't really necessarily have a schedule. I just go with the flow and I sort of like take what comes on the way. Because I just love the dynamic aspect of the space and the dynamic aspect of whatever it's happening around me right now. So what I do, there's sort of like a three pillar that you can look into what I'm doing currently. So the first thing I do and where I spend quite a lot of my time is with brands. So I'm advising and consulting Fortune 500 brands in how they can enter this space, that being Metaverse or NFTs. So that's something that I spend a lot of time with, either that being on educational or upscaling calls or talks or workshops, or being really deep down with the team, working with teams inside those brands, either from a marketing, social media, or other departments from those brands. So I work a lot on that side. I'm currently working with Salesforce, Unilever. Also, I've given a couple upskilling calls for the Volkswagen Group, for L'Oreal as well. And there are other brands that's still under NDA that I'm not, allowed to speak just yet because they haven't come out with any public announcement of what they're planning to do. So that's where I spend a lot of my time on. I spend with the big brands. My background comes from that direction, right? I've been consulting brands for the last 8 years in digital marketing, digital strategies. The last brand I worked with was with Adidas. I spent 4 years inside of the headquarters of Adidas in Germany. So that's kind of like that's my expertise, if you will. That's what I've been doing for a long time, and I combine my skill set from marketing and digital strategies into NFTs and Metaverse. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar, I work a lot with NFT native projects and Web3 native projects. So projects that are being born at the edge of technology, right? So those are not already existing brands that are trying to enter the space and find a new medium or a new channel or a new, revenue stream, if you will. Those are brands that are natively being born in this space. So that's where I keep my knife sharp. That's why I learn, majority of the things that I then go back then and apply with the big brands or apply within, my consultancy as well. So that's sort of like the place where I keep the skills set in check, and it's really exciting because I'm usually working with founders directly, or either from NFT projects or Metaverse platforms, or protocols. There I work with Nemus, as you mentioned. That's one project that's really close to my heart that I work with. What is exciting for me with Nemus, for example, is that it shows the potential on how the NFT technology and Web3 technology, if you use it right, can potentially change the world for good. right? Or change the world for better, if you will. So Nemus is one. I'm working really close with the guys from Sneakerheads right now. I work with the project Party Degenerates as well. I'm working with Boson Protocol from a protocol perspective. They're the ones building, phygitals and enabling purchasing things on the metaverse digitally, but then receiving the physical at home, like what they've done with Decentraland and Fashion Week, sorry, and with the Fashion Week, the first Fashion Week in the metaverse was also with Boson, sort of like empowering it. So I'm working with them. I'm ambassador for the Fabricant as well, so I work close with the Fabricant and everything they're building, especially when it comes to wearables, especially when it comes to digital only clothing. There's something really exciting happening there. So those are projects I work with. I partner a lot with other projects, like Woody's is a project I work close with founders. And there's a lot of other projects that are either about to come out or still brewing that I haven't I don't necessarily can speak yet just yet. So that's sort of like the second pillar. And then the third pillar is more connected to education, is more connected to talks. So this podcast is an example of when I come out and share my experience and try to bring a little bit of what I know into people to see if we can move the needle and push the space forward. I do a lot of talks, and in June and July I'm going to be speaking quite a lot around, whether that being keynotes or being panels and so on. As you might have seen if you follow me, I'm just about to launch a course on how brands can enter the metaverse and NFT space with MET Academy, which I have been shooting the past weeks in Dubai, and I've been working on that for a couple of months already. So that's really exciting for me, because it's a way that I can scale everything I'm doing from my educational perspective and get my expertise and my experience in front of others, and help people on their journey to accelerate their sort of like their knowledge, and bridge the gap at the end of the knowledge from Web2 to Web3, which is just sort of like brand new, and there's so many interest in there. So in a nutshell, on the education side as well, obviously there is the events, as you mentioned. So I'm working with the guys from MET AMS that are going to be trying this event now in really close in June. We did the first NFT conference in Latin America, which was online for free, translated into Portuguese and Spanish to bring back home, because I'm from Brazil, the knowledge, and also bridge the gap there, because a lot of the stuff that's happening around is in English. So I want to make sure that the community there is also set for success. So we've done that event as well. So that's where I lean a lot into education. In a very, very long nutshell, that's kind of like what I'm up to right now.
Awesome. I think it's clear for everyone listening to this that Web3 truly has your heart, right? So that's really where your passion lies. At least it seems to be. And that's awesome. A lot of things have been said right now. That's just incredible. And what I would wonder right now is, how did you actually get into crypto? Because the stories are very different, and I think it could be interesting to look at yours as well.
Yeah, for sure. I got into crypto blockchain in 2017. So, I was really excited about the sort of like use case and technology per se. But I first heard of Bitcoin around 2014, 2015. And I passed on it, right? I passed on Bitcoin when it was $400. I was in Bali, and this guy is telling me about, this new technology that's going to disrupt the way that humans interact with each other when it comes to trading and transacting value, through crypto coins or crypto currencies. And I was like, this guy's crazy. Like, that's definitely gonna happen. That's a scam. That's a Ponzi. This won't fly, and I don't even want to touch it. And it was for $100, right? So after that, I let it sink, and I didn't really pay attention to it anymore. And then 2017, I met a guy that was deep into like web cloud and stuff like that, and he started like talking to me, not from an investment perspective, but from a technology perspective, why blockchain will be so disruptive when it comes, in so many different sectors. And then he's got my attention because I love, I'm really excited about technology, although I'm not a tech guy, but I'm really excited about the possibilities and use case and what can potentially, be done through the technology, pretty much as the internet, right? What the internet has done in our lifetime is incredible, and how much it has changed, what the way we interact, and blockchain for me sounded, an evolution or pretty much a new way on which all of that could happen either again or an entire new way. So that's, you fast forward 2000 to 2017 was when I started getting more into crypto. I obviously bought the top by end of 2017, and then 18th in January, the whole market went really bad. And then we've seen the bear that happened almost till end of 19th, right? So I've been holding through that process and through that period. But for me, the whole sort of like crypto blockchain aspect was much more as a use case or as a technology rather than an investment. I never saw sort of like the exciting part of investing in it or following charts. Day trading or investment is such a sort of like a lonely job, right? And I've been working since I'm 16th. I've been working at different agencies. I've worked a lot within the social media space with agencies back in the day. So I always been throughout my career, I always been a marketing and agent and on the marketing side, but in the agency and the client side. So creativity for me is like a big part of everything I do. And day trading or investment is not close at all to that. So what I'm sort of like summarizing here is that I've seen the possibilities and opportunities of the technology, but I didn't went all in because for me it was very, very technical. And all of that changed in about a year ago when I first heard of NFTs. So like when I've seen the possibilities of using this technology that I already knew well, plus the use case that I already knew well, but now putting a layer of creativity, a layer of culture, a layer of fashion, a layer of art, a layer of music on top of it, I knew that this would speak with everybody else, not just with the tech guys that were, deep down into blockchain technology.
Yeah, I think the NFT sector actually really disrupted a lot of industries already, especially, as you said, fashion and so on, and probably the gaming industry sooner or later as well. It's crazy, and it's especially awesome that so many people got into crypto because of NFTs, right? And as you said, there was some sort of cultural shift, right?
Yeah.
With the art, with the community building and so on. And we both know, but the audience maybe doesn't, the mindset between Web 2 and Web 3, basically within those communities, basically, if you have a regular Web 2 community and a Web 3 community, they are some sort of different, right? And what would you say, what are the general differences in terms of mindset? How are they thinking? What do the people actually want within those communities?
Yeah, I mean, tying back to the end of what we're just saying, for me, NFTs are the Trojan horse for blockchain going mainstream, right? So that's why it's so exciting about a lot of it, because pretty much like with the internet, internet or electricity are things that you use every single day, but although unless you're like an engineer or a developer, you don't even know how it works. And I think NFTs are bringing blockchain technology towards that direction, especially cryptocurrencies, because people are coming in, they don't know what is in the back end, and you don't have to, and that's bringing the whole that whole technology to a new level, as you just said, because so many people are getting onboarded into that. So that's what's exciting for me, and that's why I'm in this space, and working so hard against sort of like the education aspect. From a community perspective, from Web 2 to Web 3, I think there's a lot of talks around the differences, and a lot of people from the Web 3 community try to to create this huge gap from like Web3 to Web2, and it's like black and white. And I don't think is the case. I think everyone now that is seeing the potential and possibilities are slightly shifting their focus and their understanding on what is next. And I think is an exciting evolution of technology that is impacting culture as well. So I think the first aspect for me is that the communities are different just because of the values and also what the technology enables. So the crypto community is very well known to be this sort of like more revolutionary or anarchist, if you will, because the whole manifesto of cryptocurrencies per se is, sort of like sticking it to the man and building a separate currency or a separate financial system, because we are tired and fed up the way that the world actually works right now, and we want to have a second sort of like way to do it, or restart or reboot from zero. So I think that mentality is really strong within cryptocurrencies. I'm not saying that everybody thinks like that everybody's in that because of it, but early stages of cryptocurrencies, that's where sort of like the mentality is coming from, right? And I think that's being translated a little bit into Web3 right now. I think not as extreme, but what is exciting about the Web3 mentality and the Web3 community is that people are actually looking, historically on what has happened within Web2 and centralization and big corporations like Meta, Google, Amazon, and others. And they start questioning, how can we now take advantage of decentralized technologies that are empowered by blockchain to create a new way on which we users can engage with the internet, and we can create solutions, applications, or any type of interaction that is not dependent on centralized platforms or centralized organizations. So I think a little bit of what I said before, this sort of like cryptocurrency mentality is coming to that direction. And I think that's the major difference, where people from Web3 are looking into the dream scenario, right? The sort of like the blue sky of creating projects, products, or applications that are truly decentralized, that are truly non-dependent on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but rather an entire community and network that can now enable things that weren't possible before, or redistribute value or wealth in manners that weren't possible before either, because you had someone, either one person or one organization that was responsible for taking majority of the stakes at the table, or that its business model was to use data or personal information from people to actually profit or create revenue streams on. So I think that's sort of like the major differentiator, the major aspect that makes these communities different, and also makes Web3 so exciting. I know that there is a lot of still misinformation. I know that there's a lot of still hopium, as we call, on the meme side of things, where we're seeing the possibilities, and we know things won't be 100% as imagined, because is a capitalist system where there is always space for middlemen and large corporations. But I think is a step forward for a better internet, is a step forward for how we will connect as humans in the digital world, and that's also why the metaverse and the decentralization aspect and open metaverse and all those type of conversations are exciting for me.
Totally love it. In the end, it's basically, as I understood it now, power to the people, right? It's not a complete replacement for everything we already have, but it's another opportunity, or basically way to convey value to your, let's say, customers or community, right? So basically you have some sort of people who actually care about owning things, who care about taking control over certain things, right? Be it intellectual property and so on. can do that with NFTs, for example, right? And a lot of other examples as well. And yeah, as you said, the creativity aspect, metaverse, all those buzzwords are for now maybe partially just buzzwords, but in the future there's a huge, incredible upside, right? And I think people really underestimate what's actually possible.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening right now is the same what happened with the internet, is the same what happened with video games, is the same what happened with social media. And that's why I love looking back on the past technologies and how they were initially perceived and how they evolved and how they got mainstream, right? So if you look to those three that I just mentioned, they started off as something very clumsy, as something very like, oh, cool, like video games, like who cares? It's just, think about Atari, was those two bars running on each side of the screen, and you had this ball in the middle that you had to hit, almost like tennis table, and that's what video games were, right? So like nobody really cared and nobody really believed on what that thing was, could potentially do. And then you think about internet as well, Web1 specifically, you can just like read stuff on a screen. I mean, what is the point of this? I can just keep reading my newspapers, right? Why should I be like having to buy a crazy expensive screen to read something digital? It doesn't make any sense. This thing has no future, right? Social media was the same. People are like, oh yeah, like this is just for kids. Who cares? Why would I want to like follow waters? Why do I care about what you have eaten for breakfast? So, it's the same with NFTs right now. People are looking at it and saying, oh, those are just PFPs, profile projects. There is nothing behind it. It's just hype. It's just buzzwords. It's just like apes that are extremely crazy value that nobody understands why people are paying millions on it. And again, history repeats itself. So it's really exciting to see that, people still haven't learned with history, and people is still like putting it down and like trying to understand or predict the future by looking at the present. And that's one of the major mistakes I see, around me, is that everybody's looking at what NFTs are based on what they actually are right now, but they're not looking on what NFTs could be, or even, Metaverse could be based on the future possibilities, So I appreciate you touching like the buzzwords aspect and, the sort of like the mainstream herd mindset, if you will, that's currently around the space, because we are just starting. So it's really hard to grasp and intangible. But for me, we are sitting right now in mid-90s, and the internet just came about, and there are a couple crazy people saying that's the future, but everybody's just looking at it and calling it bullshit. So, I think we are at that stage, and that's why I'm so, so invested into it, because I wasn't young enough to be there when I wasn't old enough to be there when the internet blew up. I wasn't ready professionally to take full advantage when social media blew up. And now I'm ready and I'm all in, because with NFTs and Metaverse, the cycle is repeating itself. And I want to be positioned accordingly this time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think there's, as you already know, all those kind of misconceptions around NFTs, right click save, and all those kind of, misinformation. And this leads me to one important point. And I think because you're heavily invested into education, that might be your actual motivation for that as well, right? That we have a lot to do in Web3 in regards of onboarding and UX and so on, right? What would be your kind of take on that? Or would you say we are actually on the way, it's everything great? Or what's your opinion in general?
No, we're early again, right? It's the example of the video game. We are on that Atari tennis table situation still, right? The difference is that we have nowadays an incredible larger amount of technology at our disposal that a lot of it is for free, a lot of it can be recycled. So we are not starting from scratch again. So I think although it's going to take time for mass adoption and full understanding, I think, you know, if you look at graphics of adoption of social media or adoption of new technologies, if you look in, you know, historically, it was never that fast to go into full adoption or mainstream adoption with technologies as it is today. So I think, you know, I'm not saying we are there. I definitely think we aren't, but I think it will take less time that we are imagining, just because the ratio of adoption in technologies in general right now is exponential. Is insane, you know, is much faster than it was always before. So I think a couple aspects should be taken into consideration, and a lot of the conversations I am at, I don't see many people talking about them, especially when it comes to Web3 in general, right? Web3 is just like much larger thing that, you know, we tend to talk about, and then we say, oh, Web3 equals NFTs and Metaverse, and it's not the case, right? Web3 is the internet. NFTs might be social media. Metaverse might be, you know, chat rooms, but there's like shit tons of other things that will be within that realm of Web3. But there are a couple things that are structural, relevant, that I think we should be looking into. For example, talents. A lot of people were like, oh, how do I find Web3 talents? No, you don't find them, because this thing is, you know, literally starting, not right now, but is quite fresh. So what you should be doing is you get Web2 top-notch talents that are interested in Web3, and then you upscale them, rather than looking for like the best Web3 talents out there, because either you won't be able to afford them, or they don't want to work with you, or you won't find them. So that's one like major misconception I still seeing from a lot of companies. You know, people want to like hire people that are like top-notch on all sides, and especially within this space is almost impossible. So, you know, upscaling Web2 talents is way easier than getting someone that has a good understanding of Web3, but doesn't have a good understanding on branding, on coding, or marketing, or development, or, you know, UX, or any of it. So I think reverse engineering that is a good way to go about it. The second one, you know, is UX, user experience, is horrendous. User experience within Web3 is horrifying. You know, that's why Coinbase is doing so well, because they have the best user experience out there to get people, you know, their first cryptocurrencies. And that's why they have major, you know, opportunity and advantage over competitors. Look at MetaMask. MetaMask is horrible. It's really difficult to interact with. You know, there's so many things you can do wrong, and there's so many things that go wrong without an explanation. That's another example, right? But obviously, in general, again, because there is this crazy conversation around like Web2 versus Web3 type of mentality, instead of Web3, you know, developers, founders, and creators look at everything we've done from a UX perspective on Web2 and replicate that experience, but now adding a layer of Web3 in the back end. People just want to start from scratch. And I don't understand, because the user experience from Web2 to Web3 is not different. What's going to be different is the backend, is the way you interact with it, is that now you need a you know, digital wallet instead of like a Google or a Facebook account to connect with DApps. And a lot of people are underestimating that aspect, and that makes it difficult, because the space per se was developed and created and was born from techie-driven and techie-savvy people. So UX was never a thing, because you know how to interact with a smart contract yourself. Why do you need a front end? Or you know how to, you know, go to the back end and interact with whatever is in the back end. So why do you need a good front end? But if you want to have mass adoption, you shouldn't expect everyone to be able to do what those people were doing. You know, you should be looking into creating better experience. So I think that's sort of like the second major issue we need to solve right now. And the easiest way for me to do it is replicating what has been working really well on Web2. Don't try to invent something new, right? And then the third aspect for me is inclusion, right? Not necessarily just, you know, minority communities when it comes to pricing, or, you know, the actual, you know, availability of technology, but also coming from a fiat standpoint, right? So using dollar, euro, yen, whatever the currency is in your country, but being able to purchase, interact, and, you know, transact within Web3 through normal money, if you will, right? Fiat money, if you will, rather than just cryptocurrencies. I think there is still a major catch up to happen on the cryptocurrency side for people to have their digital wallets, to understand cryptocurrencies, to want to take part on a, still very risky and volatile market. So people are more comfortable maybe paying with credit cards. People are more comfortable maybe paying with stable coins, right? So I think that aspect, is still missing a lot and needs to be worked out quite a lot when it comes to the ways where we can bring the masses in, because it's going to be through talents, it's going to be through UX, and it's going to be through inclusion, for people that are not necessarily within the cryptocurrency environment yet.
Yeah. Totally agree. Basically, people should not need to understand blockchain, right?
100%.
Yeah, just like the internet, as you said in the beginning, it's
100%.
should be, yeah, some sort of plug and play in best case.
The way blockchain technology is going to go mainstream is not by you and I shouting at 7 billion people trying then to understand what blockchain is and how it works and how mining and what is proof of work and what is proof of stake. That's not the way we're going to go there. The way we're going to go there is make it in a seamless manner that my grandmother, your grandmother, someone else's grandfather can go there, interact with it, be on Web3, and don't even understand what they're doing from the backend point of view. They don't even understand. They never heard of blockchain. That's how we're going to bring it mainstream.
Yeah, looking forward to that moment, right? Yeah, basically, where do you think, based on what we just discussed about, we have had the problems, we have had other things like the mindset and so on, but where do you think are we actually heading? So what could be killer apps, so-called killer apps, which really reach a ton of people, which just like the NFTs, what could be next?
Yeah, I think, and that's why it's exciting for me, the Web3 conversation as a whole. I think as every major business in the world does, the applications or the projects or the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are solving real world problems, right? And the advantage that we have now is that those companies can still solve real world problems as they were doing on Web 2, but now we have the power of being under a decentralized technology that now you can, for example, cut the middleman, or the middleman can still existing but taking much less of a cut, or that there is a new way on which a creator economy can profit from the system rather than the other way around, right? So I think that decentralization and redistribution of power, wealth, and and anything that it comes with decentralization and redistribution, I think that's where there's a lot of exciting ways for us to look into. So who's going to be the next Amazon? Who's going to be the Amazon of Web3? Who's going to be the Google of Web3? Who's going to be the Meta of Web3, right? Will those companies evolve and become the ones of the versions of themselves, but now on Web3? Possible. Will be, new unicorns born within the space natively that come to disrupt those markets? Absolutely. Like Uniswap is a great example. Those are technologies that are solving a real issue, providing a real value to a new economy. So I think there will be, three major sectors. I think banking and finances is going to lead the way because it's the most mature and the one that, started this whole thing when Satoshi went there, wrote the white paper. Is all about finance and economics, right? So I think this is the one that has the potential to bring the masses in a unprecedented manner. I think the second one is going to be creator economy. Is going to be, what we are seeing with artists, music, IP, entertainment, social media. I think that bulk of creator economy is going to be a major one, because like Aave is doing now with their new social media, you will start seeing more movements in that side, where creators are now coming and using those platforms because they can have a better upside. So I think that's going to be an exciting place as well. And I think the third one is going to be heavily focused on culture, brands, lifestyle, and that brings a very large bucket of festivals, music, art, brands, lifestyle, fashion, automotive, whatever you think that are like either consumer goods or products that people can purchase physically today. They will be connected, either a pair of a digital good or a digital only good, that will be either trading, buying, selling, creating, co-creating, sharing, co-owning, or anything on those lines. So I think those three pillars is going to be major responsibles for bringing this technology mainstream. We've seen with finance, I have more and more people outside of my inner circle that are coming to talk to me about blockchain, not because they know who I am, but because we end up on that conversation and they ask me if I know what it is and if I know what cryptocurrencies are and all of that. So I see that growing, and I think that's going to be the one leading the way. I definitely think it's going to take much more time than we are expecting. It's already taken 10 years, and I think it's going to take longer, just because regulation isn't in place yet. But every single major bank out there is investing. Every single major company and CFO out there is understanding what is their cryptocurrency, strategy for the upcoming years. As well as on the brand side, every major CMO, every Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 company out there right now is understanding what is their NFT and Metaverse strategy as we speak. So, those for me are the sort of like three major sectors, three major markets that have the possibility, and I believe will be the ones pushing the needle when it comes to mainstream adoption.
Awesome. What would you actually tell based on that newcomers, no coiners, because you get that asked a lot, right? I think everyone who ever wrote Web3 or crypto somewhere in his social media or told any of his friends is going to be asked that on a regular basis, right? What are you actually telling them on how to start? Because usually it might be from the investment perspective, but what if someone asks you on how to actually enter the space? What would you tell them?
The first thing I would say is don't invest your money. Don't chase making money. Don't chase investing money. Don't chase the crazy gains your friends are talking about. Don't put your money down as a way on why you entering in it, because you're gonna enter by a different manner, unless you're like an investor trader that has it on your core, and you want to develop a new way, a new strategy, a new manner on which you can enhance your skills, either professional or as a hobby, on how you make a living. Unless that's you, I definitely wouldn't start with investing, because by doing so, you will be, niching down the possibilities and focusing so much on making a buck rather than the full potential on how you can use this new technology, to shape your future based on what you love, or based on what you work with, or based on what your business is about, or based on what your current career or professional is about. So I always try to take this layer of investment, because it blinds people. One, because people get greedy and want to make money and they end up losing everything. And two, because everybody that's looking from outside is just seeing like, oh, it's a cool place to make money, right? Or it's a crazy place to lose money. So it's not for me. I'm not a gambler. I don't want to go to the casino. So, take that layer out. Don't put your money down, and come in with a curiosity aspect of, what can I learn from this space that can, help me becoming better, or doing you know, things that are more exciting when it comes to the hobbies that I like, or things that I'm already doing on my quote unquote Web2 anyway world anyway. So that's kind of like the first letter of warning, you know, like don't come in for the money, don't come with that mentality, come be curious, come to figure it out. Imagine you're in the 90s right now, mid 90s right now, trying to figure out how you make money, quick money with the internet, and we are in like 2022, and the internet's still around, and there's so many new things and exciting things happening around us. But if you are just focusing on making a quick buck, like you're missing on the long-term vision of it and the possibilities and opportunities. So that will be like, you know, again, the first point to start with. And then from there, what I would recommend is, you know, be just the reader, be the consumer at first. You know, get in front of the right articles, get in front of the right YouTube channels, get in front of the right courses, get in front of the right Twitter follower, have people to follow, getting the right Discord channels, getting the right newsletters. Try to find that intel that, you know, speaks to you on the niche you want to be in, and double down on reading and learning there. That would be my first sort of like, you know, my second step after understanding the mindset. And then instead of going super wide, just find a niche that you enjoy, that being sports, that being collectibles, that being, you know, technology, that being automotive industry, that being, you know, fashion, whatever it is that you enjoy, find a niche, because there will be enough space. You know, you need to go horizontally to understand Web3, NFTs, Metaverse, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, you know, decentralized autonomous organizations. You need to go horizontal there so you understand the concepts, but then you need to go vertical to apply those concepts that you now understand into the niche that you want to go deep into, because the rest is going to be overwhelming. There's so much going on out there, you know, and there's so much noise that the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get excited, and then all of a sudden like, yeah, I'm going to drop off because there's just so much to do here, and I don't get time for it. You know, I have a lot of things to do, and I don't want to invest time on it. And then fast forward 5 years, you're going to be regretting that you drop out. So, you know, bring that mentality of being like laser focused on learning things that you like already anyway. It's going to be exciting for you, and then dive deep into it. And then, you know, once you had the right mindset and you've got the right niche and you found the right channels of information, you know, start looking for the communities, start looking for people you can connect that are sharing the same passion than you. And then maybe by there, you'll be in a better position to say, you know what, like there is this NFT group that, you know, those people were connecting through this NFT, through a gated experience, and they exchange a lot of things about fashion. And I'm super pumped about fashion, and I want to be part of this community. And then you go there and put your money down because you want to be part of that thing. But now that thing has purpose to you. It's not just money making anymore. Right now it's about enhancing the learnings, being part of a bigger community, being part of a group that can help you develop as well. And then the last thing I would recommend is, you know, if you're really excited about it, start your own project. You know, if you want to be on the NFT or Metaverse side of things. Obviously, again, Web3 is so wide, but I'm touching just those two aspects because those are sort of like my fields of expertise. Start your own project, start your own community, start, you know, either contributing to, you don't need to be a founder, but if you contribute or if you found, you know, things that you're excited and start contributing to, that's how you learn. The only way you learn is by teaching or by doing, you know. Don't be like the theoretical learner, because the space moves so fast that as soon as you're reading an article, it's already old. You know, so learning by doing and by being part of things is the best way to learn. You know, that's why I spend so much time with founders and with builders and, you know, people that are natively creating into this space, because that's how you stay at the edge of technology. There's no other way. So that's kind of like how I usually try to walk people through, you know, bullshit free, don't focus on making money, literally just, you know, try to find what you're passionate about, dive deep into that from a learning perspective. And as soon as you're ready, then, you know, invest a little bit of money here and there to try to be part of those communities, or, you know, double down by building or by co-creating with people that you're already engaging with.
Awesome. Nothing to add, actually. Get your hands dirty, right? in a nutshell. It's
100%.
just such a crazy space. And Diego, if you have 1 or 2 minutes, I would love to ask you one last question.
Sure, let's go.
Are there any crazy, funny, amazing stories you actually would like to share or can share if you have something in your mind right now? Be it buying into some sort of a shit coin and then surprised what happened afterwards, or I don't know, would be curious.
Yeah, I think I touched a little bit on that at the beginning, right? So a lot of people were like, oh man, like I'm too late for this space, you know, like I haven't bought a Bored Ape, or, you know, I don't have a CryptoPunk, so it's not even worth for me to come into the NFT space right now. Or I don't want to invest in cryptocurrencies because, you know, I don't have a Bitcoin, or Ethereum is already like, you know, 2 grand, 3 grand, whatever the price is. I'm late. There is no point for me to come in. And I always go back, you know, I passed on Bitcoin when it was $400. I passed on Bored Apes when it was 1,000 because I couldn't understand. So I have been where a lot of people are at right now. And I'm here to say that there is so much to come. And we are just at the beginning, really. So, you know, again, come in with the right mentality of learning for the long term, you know, investing for the long term, building for the long term. Because, man, like we are at the foreground of the probably biggest cultural and technological revolution of our generation. And if you think you're late when this didn't even started, and you get to attach to things you missed out on, you know, you're gonna keep losing. You're gonna keep like not seeing the opportunity. You're gonna keep not taking advantage of the position we are at right now. And then afterwards, it's gonna become a little bit later and harder and more difficult, you know? So the mindset aspect is really important. Mental health is really important in the space. You know, you're gonna lose every single day. You're gonna miss opportunities every single day. And you look back, you're gonna regret, you know, because that's how the space works. But if you don't focus again on, you know, like on the financial aspect of it, there's so much to learn. You know, the money I haven't made is the knowledge I acquired. The money I've lost is the knowledge that I've acquired. You know, and I'm using this now to build for the long term as well. So it's a bit of a fun story, but also inspiration and motivational, because, you know, that's kind of like how I've seen those opportunities. I could be literally like multimillionaire right now if I wouldn't have passed Bitcoin at 400, because it hit, I think, 65,000 at all-time high. But I don't regret. I'm around, you know, and I'm excited and stoked for what I've learned and for what's to come.
Still a lot of opportunity in the space, right? Just the fact that you mentioned before that Web2 companies actually shouldn't recruit other Web3 talents, but actually educate them to become Web3 developers, marketers, or whatsoever, right? Alone, this single fact says it all. So we are early, and thank you, Diego, for taking the time and having me. It was a pleasure talking with you and listening to your insights. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening to this.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.